If you are looking to achieve an outcome in life, you're moving towards a goal, a dream, a destination that you desire, you're going to need discipline. Maybe you're coming back from a setback in life, a challenging moment where you felt knocked down. It's time to get back up, and you're ready to employ more discipline, more effort towards the goal and the direction that you're moving. Now, if you and I have not met yet, my name is Troy, and I want to help you in your life. And today I'm going to share with you 6 tips, six insights to help you develop crazy discipline. Now, first, let's just look at, if you do have discipline in your life, what's going to take place? What type of possibilities, what kind of outcomes might there be? A disciplined person often can follow through and complete a task. And it's not just the task or the result that they achieve, it's that then they can show themselves that they can replicate that same process over and over again in certain areas of life. And therefore, you internally take more risk. And therefore, you create more results in your life. And you're on an upward trajectory, an upward spiral. Now, if you lack discipline, if you don't understand the 6 principles I'm going to explain right now, then you probably don't try things. You often will not start things. It doesn't mean that you have a, quote, bad life, but you might lack direction. When you lack direction, you lack expression. And the way you heal depression is you express yourself. That's always the medicine for the depression. It's the opposing energy, right? Depressed energy, heavy. Expressed energy, movement. And so you express yourself. In your soul, the deepest parts of you want to express. And so if you apply discipline with these 6 tips, then you'll find yourself moving towards a goal that will feel good. It'll put you in an upward spiral of momentum and energy, and you literally get biological rewards because of that. What does that mean? You actually get more dopamine, more serotonin. If you're male, more testosterone even. It creates a winner effect. You feel like you're winning. And so discipline is a necessary requirement. Now, maybe up to this point, you haven't felt like you could actually apply or be disciplined. Like, that's not you. I want to show you that if we just break this down in the right way, you can absolutely build discipline. I don't want you to look at discipline as a light switch. And I talk about that often, meaning like I either have it or I don't. It's something that's developed. It's curated over time. And again, then you show yourself, no matter how big or small it is, you show yourself that you can apply and be disciplined. And then you expand it and extend it over and over and over again. And then it becomes really a powerful force in your life. And then you apply it to the things that you want to move towards. So let's break down these 6 steps. I just did it a little bit just now, actually. The first thing you want to do is you want to sell yourself on what you're moving towards. And so notice how I just talked about discipline. And I kind of brought up this energy of like, what might happen if you are disciplined? What type of possibilities present themselves in your life? If you don't, what might your life look like? So literally, you're selling yourself on the concept of why you're moving towards something. So say you want to, simple ones always like to lose weight or be in good shape, right? Most people just want to be in good relative shape. Do not compare yourself, right? No judgment. Don't want to create that energy. That's a whole separate concept. But let's just use that as a simple example right now. I want to get in better shape. Maybe I want to make more money. I want to better relationships, whatever it is. But that's going to take some discipline to do that. So have you truly sold yourself on the idea of that? Why this is important? But first, before we do that, even sell yourself on what will happen if you do that. So if I apply myself to this, what might take place in my life? The reality is you sit in this box, right? Kind of this autopilot system, and that's giving you the results that you live in right now. And hopefully those are good results. But if you want change, if you want something different, you're going to have to stretch the box. You have to go beyond the box. You have to think outside of the box. And so this exactly here is doing that. You start to say to yourself, well, what will happen if I get in better shape? Well, maybe I'll have more energy. Go further, right? Your default mechanism isn't enough right now. It hasn't produced the result that you want. So you have to sell yourself even more. Well, if I have more energy, that might mean I have some better ideas. What else? If I have better ideas, I might create something really powerful, something really beautiful. I might make more money because of that. I might start to experience more things because of that. I might start to connect with different people because of that. And so now I'm creating so much energy around just getting in better shape, right? I'm starting to get leverage. We always have to create leverage over ourselves. What else? Maybe that will rub off on the people in my life. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have a spouse, a partner, friends. And by that, my effort, right, my movement towards being in better shape, as that starts to rub off on them, what might happen? My kids will feel inspired. Maybe we'll have better food around the house. That'll help their brain cognition. That'll help us, maybe they'll get better grades in school. That'll increase their confidence. Maybe we'll learn to try new activities. We'll, instead of on the weekends doing X, Y, and Z, we'll do A, B, and C, and that'll add more energy to their life. So you see how you just go deeper and deeper and deeper, like really push that. I would encourage you to write it down so you could look at it often and add to it over time. So you write it down, you add to it over time, you get deeper and deeper. So this isn't the why necessarily you're doing things, but it's more the vision, like what will happen if I do this? You get really deep on that. you have to have emotional connection when you want to think about discipline. You have to feel it in your body, right? So behind me, I got a couple degrees here, right? I always hesitate telling personal stories just because I always want to relate it to you. But I want you to understand that when I thought about going back to college, how far away that felt from me. I was not a school person. I never enjoyed school. I was always staring out the window, daydreaming, waiting for a recess or just to, go play, flirt with some girls, whatever it was. Like, I did not enjoy the process of school. And then if you know a little bit of my story, I had a very successful business at one point. I lost that business. When I realized like something get taken away like that, I wanted something that could add more security for myself and my family, my kids at the time and everything. And so I'm like, man, maybe I'll try to go back to school. And it seemed like honestly a long shot. Because at that point I felt like I was dumb and ugly. I really did. And my confidence, if some of you might relate to this, if you're not a school person, it can really beat up your confidence in that area over time. And so what I had to do was sell myself on the idea of going to school. Like, what will this do? Well, man, it will create something that no one could ever take away. And that felt really powerful at the moment because I had just lost the business that just got taken away from me. If I go back to school, it's going to make it so if any situation in life ever presents itself again, because I went through a recession in 2008, that's kind of a lot of the reason I lost the business, right? I could withstand something that because I could get a job that would be more powerful. Because after that recession, I was working basically a minimum wage job. I went from being, at the highest of highs, speaking on stage, nationally published articles, all this kind of stuff, mastermind group, and then I go to rock bottom. So I'm like, wait a second, let me build a life where I have a little more security. But I also want to leverage that security to create more freedom, whole nother concept. But I was getting more leverage around myself because I knew this was going to be hard and honestly a very long process. I was thinking long game, not just short term. And so I went back to school to first get a 2-year degree. And I remember I had to take math class, basic math. And I was like, man, this shit's awful. I literally bought a math book for dummies. It was those you can learn this for dummies or that for dummies. I bought math for dummies. I remember going through it. I'm like, dude, I fucking hate this. I'm throwing the book down one day and be like, dude, this is stupid. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? I quit. And then I was like, wait, time is going to go by no matter what, right? The next 2 years will go by no matter what. And I can not do this, and that's cool. Or I can step into this, choose to do it. It'll be difficult, but after 2 years, I'll have at least associate's degree. And so that's what I chose. So I finished the associate's degree. And it was very hard. I wasn't a great writer at the time either. So I had to work on those skills. But it forced me, like I've talked about this in other videos, to leave certain parts of me behind, right? Those weaker parts of me. They couldn't come along the next phase of this journey. Other parts of me had to step forward. And so those other parts unlocked new parts of me. So after a 2-year degree, I went on to get a 4-year degree. I'm like, all right, do this. And then I was like, oh man, someone else was like, man, why not get your master's? You're right there. I'm like, oh, all right, I guess I'll do it. Now a whole new level of challenges. Now I'm taking graduate level statistics classes and accounting classes. I'm like, oh. And so I had to find my strengths because I wasn't naturally good at those things. But what I'm really good at is solving problems, figuring things out. So I'd go to my professors. I'd make connections here. I sold myself on the idea, right? Graduate degree, master's degree to open up more opportunities, more security. This is how I view myself, whatever it was. And again, I hesitate just sharing personal stories because I want you to make it personal to you because we all have our own things, right? Our own arenas we step into. But this is one of mine. It was very big for me. It was a challenging thing. And I run my own business. I don't even technically use the degree. It adds value, it adds credibility, things like that. But it was more about me following through and being disciplined. That's really what it took. And I was showing myself along the way after the first degree. Honestly, after the first math class, okay, I can keep going. And then it was the first semester, okay, I can keep going. Then it was I'm a year in, I can keep going. Then it was, wow, I got a 2-year degree. Let's keep going. And then it was the 4-year degree. And I was like, oh man, might as well just get this last master's degree, get that done. And so you see how discipline just starts to build on itself. We have to sell ourselves on what will take place. And then I also, at the same time, was selling myself on if things don't happen, right? If I don't do this, what might take place? I'd already experienced pain from not having any kind of backup at the time. Multiple ways you can have backup and all that stuff, right? Things I could have done differently. But for me, this was an example. And so I'm like, damn, I could have built up, or if I don't do this, I could end up working that minimum wage job again. And that sucked. I hated that. High to low, massive drop. I don't want to do that again. So we build some security around this. So you're selling yourself on the vision if you do these things. So let's go back to you, right? So maybe it is the 10 pounds, the 20 pounds. It's starting the business. It's changing careers. Maybe it's going back to school. Sell yourself on the vision if you do this, because time will still go by, right? The next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years are going to pass. And you can either step into this journey and go along with the ups and the downs and the sides and the twists and the turns, because that's what it's supposed to be like, and learn more about yourself along the way. And you can transition if something's not right for you as you go down that road. You can transition because, again, you're learning skills. It's forcing certain parts of you to fall away as other parts of you are being called to step forward. So you can step forward and answer that call and learn this about yourself. You can transition, you can change lanes. That's cool as long as you do it for the right reasons. You're still staying on your path because you feel called to switch or transition. That's cool. But continue the journey. Keep stepping into it. Doesn't have to be big. No one even needs to know about it. When I was going to school, you could count on one hand how many people I told about it. On one hand. At one time, I was going to school full-time as a graduate student. I had my business that I was running, and I worked part-time at the university psychology department. And I had a family with 3 kids. And so I was immensely overwhelmed, but I never told anybody. I didn't use it as like a victim. I wasn't like, oh, I'm in school, I can't do this. I didn't want to create that for myself. I still wanted to be able to show up on the weekend and take my kids and go do something. I still wanted you to invite me out and go hang out and do something rather than being in school. I didn't want to fall into that frame. And I took discipline, consistency over and over. That's all discipline really is. It's just being consistent over and over and over. So after you sell yourself on that, you have to get deeper to your why. And the why is, why do I want this, right? Like, what will this do for you? It's connected to your vision, but there's 3 levels of it. There's a higher purpose. Okay. I want you to look at these 3 levels. There's a higher purpose. Like, if you do this thing, like legacy wise, what does that create? That'll be maybe around your friends, your parents, the world, like the legacy you can leave behind you if you step into this. I'll be an example for my kids, whatever, right? But really sell yourself on that. Go into that. Write those things down. This will take place. If I lose this 20 pounds, I'm setting an example for my children that they can do something like this as well, right? If I do this thing I never thought really possible, like I can't be this, but there's a sliver of it. I just feel it inside me. It keeps calling. It's always there. I'm just going to go all in. I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to quit. Like, right? That shows others that they can do it too. That's a powerful thing. Then also there's day-to-day motivation. It's just like, if I do this, the quality of my life will change in this way, right? So maybe by doing this thing, you have access to better food. You have access to certain resources. You have access to a certain lifestyle, whatever that is. Sell yourself on the day-to-day stuff. That's okay. It's a little bit like kind of your selfish arena, but it's okay. You need some of that or you won't do it. You need some selfish energy there. So get some of that. And then there's a little bit of the lower level motivation. A lower level motivation is kind of like oh, you don't think I can do it? Watch me. I got this, right? A lot of athletes every now and then tap into that energy. I'll tap into that energy every now and then. If I need it, I'm like, all right, let's do this. But you're always kind of going back and forth between all of those 3 and grabbing the motivation when you need it, when you feel low, right? When your discipline is being tested in that moment, like, man, I don't know if I got this. I don't know if it's worth it. That's the moment you grab that energy and you go, all right, we're going, right? It's because of this reason, because I got to do this for my family, for my kids. I got to do this because, man, I never thought I could. They never thought I could. I'm going to show them right now. Whatever it is, I'm going to do this because I want to leave a legacy behind me. So you find your level of motivation. And then I mentioned it briefly, but you have to shut off your emotions as you do this. Because as you know, there's going to be difficult times. And, it shows up in the mundane, the simple things. Like it's the daily grind type stuff. And not that it all has to be a grind, right? Because consistency is more important. You need energy as you do this. But in the beginning, it's kind of like a rocket ship. Like there's a lot of energy. Like, oh man, it's just energy. You're getting this thing to take off. It's new. It's different. You're applying new resources and you're learning about the stuff. And it's just a lot. It's overwhelming. But after a while, it smooths out and that rocket ship starts to take off. But it still requires effort, right? But it's different. It's more efficient effort. You have to be precise now. Like in business, I always talk about this is when you learn to work on your business and not in it. Right? In the beginning, you're always in it. You're just working. Later, you work on it, but not in it, meaning you build systems, right? You set up, you delegate things, you eliminate things, you automate things. It's going to be the same with your journey, whatever you're moving towards. There'll be that phase where it's a requirement for you to be more efficient. This is where you hire coaches. This is where you get other help. This is where you go to seminars, you get new tools, new resources to help you keep going, keep moving forward. But in this phase, it's still challenging, right? Especially when you're in that kind of like beginning phase of launching. Your emotions are being tested. It's like an athlete, when you're in sport, if you think about how shitty practice is, like I remember this, like I remember going through a practice and the coach is like, all right, everyone on the line, conditioning. And we're like, man, what, dude? We just freaking, it's middle of summer. We're doing 2-a-days. Like, what? I thought we were done. Like, we just finished. But if I go into that energy, that mindset, I thought I was there. I thought what happens? I'm wearing all that energy. It's pulling me down. But if you're just like, no thought, like next thing we're doing is we're on the line, we're running. Okay. Like that's what's next. And so we have to shut off those emotions sometimes. It's a paradox because you want to be deeply emotionally connected. You want to feel your way through everything. But at times you also need to shut off like the way you're inferring. Remember, infer means to pass on information. The way you're inferring what's taking place. All right, this is part of the journey. This is making me better. I shared this story when I was boxing. How I had these shoes that I would set in my bedroom. And I'd come home, maybe I already trained that. Well, I definitely already trained that day. Maybe I lifted some weights too, sparred, worked. I'd go to lay down. And I remember it's like my shoes would talk to me. They'd be like, Troy, your opponent's going to sleep right now. I'm like, yeah. Troy, we should go run that mountain behind our house. I'm like, oh, come on, man. It wasn't a mountain. It was like a big hill. And so I'd be like, all right, damn. I get my shoes on, put them things on. I go run that hill. But I did that over and over and over again. And then guess what? When it came down to the moment, it was fight night. Dude, I had this confidence. Like, I know he didn't do that. I know you didn't do those things. And I could put myself into this massive like hypnosis. Like, there's no chance I'm losing. So what can you do to create a similar effect to get your edge? It doesn't have to be running up the hill, but it's a little thing, just something unique, something to practice your art, something where you're learning things, you're asking questions to certain people, you're getting information, you're getting access to stuff that very few people have. And then you start to apply it over and over and over again. Along the way, you have to learn the ways of your mind. And one of the biggest things is you're going to have a lot of self-doubt. And I want to ask you, what value does self-doubt bring? Think about that for a second. Think how often you doubt yourself, all the negative self-talk that comes up. You can't do this. This is stupid. Look how silly this looks. Like, man, I could tell you story after story where I just felt like a complete idiot doing things. I'm like, just accept, you got to just accept that. It's the white belt journey. I've shared this story before, starting martial arts. Brazilian jiu-jitsu was like that. Come from an athletic background, wrestle, box, football, all this stuff. And I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I remember I go to this guy and my first day there, I'm like, hey man, you want to call rolling or whatever, right? You want to roll? He takes off his glasses, sets them down. He's like, okay. And he just like snaps me in like chokehold, triangle, one after another. And I'm like, what the fuck? I just got my ass kicked. And I'm like, all right, dude, you can not do this ever again. And that's cool. Like, life is good. Or you can go back in there and do this again. And so I chose to go back and do it again. It's embracing the white belt journey. So what are those things that maybe you're avoiding, or you can step into and embrace the white belt journey and just realize in the beginning, it's supposed to be like that. You're supposed to suck, but you learn and you get better over and over and over again. A lot of your problem is there's areas in life where you become the black belt, but now your ego's in the way because you get a lot of validation for that. Hey, you're really good at that thing. Way to go. But there's a deeper part of you going, let's try this new thing. But to try the new thing, you got to be a white belt again. And you're afraid to step into the white belt journey. And it's causing you to feel restricted, confined in life. Because again, the deepest part of you wants to grow. Your soul wants to expand. So allow yourself to embrace the white belt journey and then watch the growth take place. And after a while, you become a blue belt, a purple belt, whatever it is, and you get better and better. And then one day, you're a black belt at that too. And then guess what? Go find something else. Or you're moving more into mastery because there's levels to the game once you're a black belt. There's different levels of black belts. So that's your inner dialogue. You have to learn to manage it because as you have or apply discipline, you're going to question it a lot of times. So what that means is like you're going to break it, right? So you're trying to lose 10, 20 pounds. We'll use that as our example. And you're going to eat the ice cream. You're going to eat the cake. Are you going to quit in that moment? Because that's the kind of conversations. See, you're not that type of person. We should just quit. You have to learn to manage your inner dialogue. Someone's inner dialogue, your inner dialogue, is going to dictate so much of your reality, so much of your success, so much of your happiness in life. So you really have to learn to manage, pull the weeds out of the garden that are your inner dialogue. And so what that looks like is when you mess up, when you eat the cake, you eat the ice cream, don't even think about it as a mess up. Think about it as a reference point. That's a subtle point, but very powerful. So what that might mean is I ate the ice cream. Just feel what that feels like in your body. What did that do for your energy? What would the next morning look like for you? What did you want to eat? Maybe the next day you wanted to eat sugar again. Just notice the pattern. Not right or wrong, more or less. Was that wrong? No, I just want to do less of it, and then do less of it. Choose the path that will lead you to doing less of that. Massive, massive point right there. And so you're learning to nurture your inner dialogue, because you have to be it's another paradox. Again, there's so many paradoxes. Like, you have to be, with discipline, you have to apply precision and efficiency. And like, it's a narrow path, right? Over and over and over again. But at the same time, paradoxically, you have to be loose and okay, because not everything's going to be perfect along the way. You can't just keep hammering and over and over and over again. You got to allow a little bit of flow. You have to allow yourself to be human along the way. And that will allow and make sure you don't burn out. Because if you just push it over and over and over again, it'll feel like it's too much. So stay fluid with it, right? And that kind of brings me to the next point, which is to break the inner delusion. This is a powerful point. What I've noticed is, I've seen this in myself, I've seen this in others, is you don't fully understand what it will take to get to the result. So we often see people who are already at a successful level. I remember talking with someone who, there's like this massive in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There's this it's like the Olympics essentially for jiu-jitsu. This big, it's every 2 years, this big, huge tournament, and the best of the best from around the world go and compete in it. And at this point, I think I had been doing jiu-jitsu maybe 8 years or something like that. And there was someone who we trained with who had only been trained a couple of years, and they'd come a long way, but I don't think that, you know, like just them doing martial arts was a big step. Let's say that, like, you know, them getting involved with it was a great thing. And I don't know that the ceiling was super high, put it that way. And I remember them saying to me, like, yeah, they were just kind of lost in life. And I'm like, I think I'm going to go try to be on that event. And in my mind, I literally thought they were joking for a minute. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I'm like, no, I'm just going to start training, doing this. I'm like, wait, what? Like, you're delusional. Like, I've done this for 4 times as long as you, and it's not even consideration for me to even think about it, because these are people who do like full time. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I could see what took place right there was the delusion of what it actually takes to get there. Like, do you realize what that actually will take? Now, if you're fully committed to that, you see yourself doing that, you have to break the delusion and then go do that. And so whatever it is you might want to be doing, right? Maybe it's start that business. Maybe it's you want to lose the weight. Like, I'll tell you this right now, again, you know, someone who works out, someone who's trained other people for years, like, you want to get in good shape, follow me for a workout. Like, see how I get down, right? A lot of people think they're working out, and from my perspective, it's laughable. Like, you don't even, like, nah, that ain't, this is like a warm up. You know what I mean? Like, you got to really get it. There's other people that look at me and certain things I'm trying to do in life and going, well, that's just a warm up. Like, what are you doing? We don't even get down like that. You haven't even started. So I'm aware of that, and I want to find those things. Help me move into it. And so what are those things for you, right? Where do you need to break the delusion and go, oh, this actually takes consistent work over and over and over again. But again, tie all the way back, because I know what you're thinking already. Is it worth it? Tie all the way back to our very first point about selling yourself on the vision. That's why that's so important. It's the first step you have to take. Yes, it's worth it. What the fuck else are you going to do? Why not? Like, why not? Well, you're just going to wait. 5 years are going to go by, and you can be in the same situation, or 5 years will go by, and you can have a result. Move towards the results in life. Hold it loosely. Embrace the journey. Have good, positive self-dialogue. Learn about yourself. And remember this, when we talk about self-dialogue, you're just taking the data, more or less. You either win or you learn to win. There is no failures. There's no, like, I'll put something together and I'm like, hey, let me market this thing. But what I tell myself before I market it is, because there's always a resistance. Like, oh no, don't share it. What if it's not accepted? That's what it is. What if they don't accept me? But I'm like, who gives a shit? Like, and it's the same if I don't send it. If I don't do it, I have the same result. So might as well send it, right? And that what that does, it just allows my ego to get cracked open a little bit more. And I believe you want your ego to get, it's not like you need to be, it's just, the ego is really good in the passenger seat, not the driver's seat, put it that way. So you want the ego to kind of move away, like, yeah, break it down a little bit, figure it out. And then it's okay. It's very okay to be confident. You need to be massively confident, but it's more from a core place than this false reality. That's why it's important to break the delusion, right? I'm very good at this. I'm the fucking man or the woman at this thing, but this thing I ain't it, right? Like when it comes to the stuff I talk about, man, that's my lane, right? But if you go ask me about cars, don't ask me about cars. I got nothing for you. Or 10,000 other topics. I got nothing for you. I ain't smart in those areas, right? Get really clear on where you're going, the direction that you're moving. And the last point here, along those lines, is you have to allow yourself to be coachable. Like, how coachable are you? When I think about sports, man, having a good coach in your corner is so valuable. But how many good coaches have you not connected with? Have you not reached out to? Like, why are you not getting coached? It just accelerates the process. Like, was there any athlete that just said, I'm going to do this alone? No, dude, they all have coaches. Some of them have multiple coaches. Literally probably a quarter to it, maybe a sixth of my income goes right back to coaches. Always. I'm actively looking for them. Always, 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 always. And then find one you connect with and stick with it, right? I'm going to be careful. I don't have too many opinions coming in. Find one, maybe two, and just stick with them. Boom, work, get better, get better, get better, get better. That's what you want. Why aren't you doing that? And, someone who coaches people, it's also interesting because I can see how coachable someone is right away. I can see how far they can go. Now, I've worked with people who, some of my clients make hundreds of millions of dollars, like literally their businesses make hundreds of millions of dollars each year, right? And other people who just have maybe a successful career working on something like this. This guy who makes hundreds of millions, right, or his business does at least, is as coachable as this person over here, and vice versa. They're all different levels. But every now and then, somebody, I can just tell them, like, they're not that coachable. Like, they think they have it all figured out. And I learned this when I was first doing personal training years ago, 2 decades ago, when I had to work with people. And this was an area that was became a master in, right? And I'd work with people over and over. And then sometimes I get someone who wanted a result, but it was like they had it all figured out already. And I remember thinking that, and I'd finally start asking the question, like, if you knew how to do this, you would have the result already. Okay, you hired me for a reason. We're working together for a reason. What was in the way was the ego. It was just too hard for them to listen, to take feedback. That's your ego getting in the way. So drop the ego. Be coachable. Always coachable. There's situations where I'm locked in. I'm gonna lead, and in an instant I can switch gears and I can be coachable. I'll listen. I'm all ears, or at least an ear and a half an ear. So find those moments for yourself. Allow yourself to be coachable. And that, my friend, will help you be very disciplined. That's actually the art of discipline. Again, it's not just this light switch. Oh, I have it or I don't have it. No, it's a tweaking of the dial. Like most things, you learn, you develop, you craft discipline over time, and then you apply it consistently over and over again, and then you get the result. In the beginning, it's small, and later on, it's bigger and bigger things that you can move towards. And then it becomes a non-negotiable. You just decide what and when you're going to apply it to, and you go. Shut everything off, and you go, and you embrace the journey. And that's a really beautiful thing. I love you so much. Make sure you head over to my website, troyfontana.co, and you can get a free mini course about boosting your confidence there. And also then you'll stay in the loop when I release my book coming this summer. It'll be really powerful for you. And of course, like, share, and subscribe. And I love you so much. Apply that discipline, baby. Peace.